Mr. Truck here with the latest and greatest in products that improve your truck and trailer. Today we're looking at EconoMaxx. This is a Venturi accelerator. It actually increases the air going into your engine. You've probably heard of that before. But you know, back when we had the fuel crisis and the Great Recession in 2009 in that area, I used to get a lot of things in the mail. People want me to test all these things out, and none of them worked, or at least didn't work very well. This actually works. I put this in this truck. It went from 14 miles to the gallon. This is the Ford F-250. It went from 14 to 16 and a half miles to the gallon. That's 2.5, 18%. That's big. This is the 6.2 gas in this Ford. And I've seen we've taken them, we dyno tested them, we put them on an F-150 Raptor with a 6.2, and we dyno tested it, and right above peak torque, with just the EconoMaxx in there, a one-time installation, it actually went up 6 horsepower and 8 foot-pounds of torque. So we know it increases air, we know it increases power, and we know it increases fuel mileage. I've tested on mine. I've watched them install these on tractors and semis, on four-wheelers, ATVs, just about everything. And you know, even some of the OEMs use them. Ford has them on the EcoBoost, the 3.5, that real famous engine that they have. It's a V6 with twin turbos. There's 3 of these in there, not EconoMaxx's, but it's Ford's version of an EconoMaxx. Same kind of thing, the Vortex accelerator. We've got one on each turbo, one on the intercooler. So it's amazing what it does. We put it on a shop vac to see what kind of restriction, if it did do a restriction in your intake. The shop vac kind of simulated air going into an intake on your engine, and it actually, just putting this on, putting the wind meter on in front of the EconoMaxx going into the vacuum, it went from 14 miles an hour to 18 miles an hour. Well, you know, that's 30%. So we know it doesn't restrict air, it actually improves air flow. It gives you more air in your engine, which is what you need for power and fuel mileage. So, you know, for my test, I've improved my fuel mileage, improved power, and improved airflow. The things that I wanted to see if it did, and it did. I'm pretty happy with them. It's a one-time installation, 60-day money-back guarantee. If it doesn't work, send it back. You can't go wrong from what I can see. Mr. Truck here. I am today talking about the new product that I'm pretty excited about. We're going to be doing a series of tests on. It's called the EconoMaxx. And I'm here with Brian Lunenberger, and him and his brothers, Roy and Danny, I put together this product, and I use it all over the world, but it's about fuel mileage. Giving you a little more power and saving fuel and giving you better emissions. And I guess you can tell me all about it. The Bernoulli's principle. Okay.
How are you, Mr. Truck?
I'm good. Well, tell me about that. How does this principle work? And you guys discovered how this would work with, I know, a Venturi and a Vortex.
Correct. What we've done is we put 2 scientific principles together, a Venturi and a Vortex, to create Bernoulli's principle. And that you are achieving a cooler, quicker, denser charge of air. Therefore, when you produce more air into the combustion chamber, you are igniting the fuel to produce horsepower and torque, and that reverts into better fuel mileage, cleaner emissions, and you get your little more horsepower as well.
Well, that's awesome. So you're creating velocity and then low pressure, and then of course you got the vacuum going on for you. So you got all these things helping you pump more air into the engine.
Correct.
And then that makes it use less fuel. It's more efficient.
Correct.
So that's probably the key to it is that low pressure and the velocity. And of course on a turbo engine it's even better. I think it's probably does a dramatic event on all of them for fuel mileage. Now in my truck, we've already tested mine, and that video will be up first. And I was getting 2.5 miles a gallon on a Ford F-250 with a gas engine in it.
Right.
And 1 mile a gallon loaded, 12,000 pounds. Well, that equates to 14% improvement and 18% improvement empty. So those are the big numbers that I've been looking for. Because, you know, like what I've done before with testing fuel economy systems, potions, lotions, additives, you know, when the emissions, when all this stuff came out with the recession back in 2008, you know, everybody was coming out with something to save us. and get better fuel mileage. And I tried a lot of that stuff, and I got a lot of it shipped to me, and none of it worked. Actually, I would be talking about them right now. That's how that works. But yours is very impressive, and it's it's a $100 product you buy once and you're done.
Yes.
On a diesel you got a few more of them on a bigger truck, but it's very impressive what it does. And my truck, I was able to shift at lower RPMs. The engine ran better. It didn't shift out of a higher gear very often. It stayed in a higher gear, and all that I know led to better fuel mileage. And I got a little bit more horsepower, a little bit more torque.
Yeah, that's why it stayed in the higher gear longer, is because we're producing that more torque, so the motor's not working as hard to carry the weight up the hill or wherever you're going.
Right, and that's the thing, is these engines, no matter what they tell you, are not nearly as efficient as they could be. Now your product actually will burn 30% more of the burn in the cylinder, so you're burning more of the oxygen, you're burning more of the fuel that does come in instead of letting that fuel go out the exhaust.
Correct.
Which also helps your emissions. You have less going out the exhaust.
Yes, and that's how you're getting your better mileage, is because you're producing the horsepower and torque from the wasted fuel that's being expelled out your exhaust valve.
Well, that's awesome. And it's an amazing little product here. I got in the box. You're always thinking that it has to have wires hooked to it and turbo boosts and all kinds of stuff, and that's all it is.
Yeah, well, a lot of folks say, well, it looks pretty simple. It took me about 3 years to engineer the product to get it to where we get our efficiency numbers as such as that they are today.
Yeah.
And basically the product actually came from racing. My brother and I were down at the racetrack, and they have turbochargers, supercharger blowers, and they're putting more air into their engines to produce more horsepower. And I was running a car with an old Hillborn injection system on it with ram tubes, and I said to my brother Danny and Roy, I said, well, we can do that without using the kinetic energy of the engine to create the horsepower and torque, just by utilizing a few scientific principles.
Awesome. And you got a Corvette you race.
I do. That's and I've owned it for over 33 years, that car.
Oh my goodness.
I have a good wife.
Well, yeah, that's a long time to have a race car running.
Yeah.
That's very good. No, it looks simple, but it has got special design which creates a velocity. It does narrow down, does all those things that a Venturi would do, and all the things that a Vortex does, because it does create the movement in the circle and pushes it in there. So it all makes sense. It just looks simple. We're used to something.
The wonderful thing is Mr. Truck, is that it's a non-moving part. It never wears out.
Yes.
It's a polyurethane automobile grade licensed tool and die product. It's good for the lifetime of your vehicle.
Mm-hmm. So I know a lot of design has gone into this, and that's what's cool about it, is it's nice to find something simple that works in one time, instead of adding a special fuel additive every time you put fuel in it. And the emissions, that can be a big thing on the semis we're going to test. We've already tested my gas truck. We're going to do a diesel pickup. We're going to do a diesel semi truck. And a diesel semi truck, it could save you easily $15,000 a year on fuel if you're a full-time trucker. That's what's really going to be impressive numbers.
Yes.
And it'll pay for itself very fast. And it's a 30-day return on it and a lifetime warranty.
60 day, 100% money back guarantee on the product.
If they don't like it, great.
Yeah.
And then a lifetime warranty on it, because nothing to wear out.
That's correct.
That's the easy part to do. No, it's all about science and all that. And you've done this on so many different vehicles, not just pickup trucks and cars. You've done it on lawnmowers and snowmobiles and four-wheelers.
Basically, the largest piece of equipment that we have done is 170-foot ocean liners in other countries.
Yeah. Fuel mileage, that's something you've got to try on your own. I've done it on mine and it works, but they've also got a 60-day money-back guarantee, so you're not like taking a risk on it.
Today I'm installing an EconoMaxx unit in a 2004 Dodge 3500 pickup. Yeah, you can see the EconoMaxx unit in the end of it.
What did you see as a difference, Fred?
Well, I noticed the difference at 70 to 75 when I stepped on it. It got up, it went to 85 just that quick. I mean, it's pulled out faster than what it normally does.
We've been testing the EconoMaxx. It's a device It doesn't move. It's a one-time device. You just put it in and you're done with it. And it's proved out really well here. We've used it on a Ford 6.2 and an F-250. We've used it in a DuraMax 6.6 in the Chevy Silverado. And it's gotten both of them, got around 2.5 miles to the gallon empty improvement. The Ford, it was 2.5, and with a loaded trailer of 12,000 pounds, it went up 1 mile to the gallon. The speed on the Ford was a little faster, 0 to 60. On the DuraMax, it went 2.6 miles to the gallon improvement on an empty truck. It stayed the same with a 12,000 pound trailer, and I didn't really notice a difference in the 0 to 60 times on it. But that 2.6, I mean, that went from 17.1 miles to the gallon to 19.7. That's a big jump. On the Ford F-250 gas engine, it went from 14.1 to 16.5. So about 2.5 miles to the gallon there. That's significant. On the Ford, that's 18%. You know, so it'll certainly pay for itself. It's easy to install. You just, you know, put it in the intake tube. And you only do that once. It's not like a lot of the Addis where you got to add it to every single tank of fuel. So I'm pretty happy with it. Our tests have proven that it works and that it will save you fuel. And you know, the whole setup makes sense to me. So I'll have it in my trucks and we'll be using it. Join us next time on Mr. Truck and see what else we're going to be reviewing, whether it's a truck, trailer, or an accessory.